the goal is to do the next workout better than I did this workout. And then eventually, hopefully, if you do that for long enough, you end up in a better spot than you would have. It's almost like, is it
Would you
optimal?
have that goal if it wasn't for... It's like you're trying to build a Lego castle. You're not even going to put the first Lego piece if you don't know what you're trying to build. You just start putting Legos together?
Yeah. You may never get the castle. You may never get the castle, but you hopefully will get more Lego pieces on top of one another. It just might not be... It's like the puzzle thing we were talking about before. Maybe you don't know exactly what the end of the puzzle looks like, but realistically, you don't really need to know what the end of the puzzle looks like to start it. Just start putting shit together and see what happens. Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1989, that is actually the year I was born. You know how I say that about every episode? We've finally gotten to the place where I can actually say that, and it's real.
Oh, we missed 1988.
We
Damn,
did miss 1988.
I missed my chance.
We'll have to go to your year of death. So like when we get to like 20, 21, 20-ish, we could say this is probably about when Alan's going to die. So year of death. Okay.
Kev,
Yes.
people have a weird relationship with mortality. Just so you know, you have a very comfortable relationship with mortality. So you did just kind of brush over a joke about death. I'm just saying.
That's my apologies. It's coming for all of us. It is.
Yeah.
It is coming for all of us. Alan wants to live till $120. He's currently 36. That means he has 80 plus 40, 84 years left on the planet. So that'll be 2,100.
Let's make them count.
Yeah, let's make them count. Cool. Yeah, sorry to start in a negative Nancy here. All right, the relationship growth gap.
Should we redo that? Probably.
Nope, definitely not.
Okay.
You want to talk? No. This is it. You know.
Oh yeah. This is us being us. Yeah.
This is us trying to be us.
Good.
If I offended you with any jokes about death, I don't mean to do that. I do have I'm very comfortable with the understanding that it's going to happen, so I do joke about stuff like that. But the relationship growth gap. Why did you want to do this freaking episode? What does it mean? You did a relationship talks event on this, and you said you think it would be good to do a deep dive episode, quick deep dive episode.
So Emilia and I did a relationship talks virtual event last Thursday.
Yes.
And it was about getting on the same page about personal growth. And we talked about how anonymously there was a couple that we coached for a long time. We actually still are. She's coaching them more than I am now. But when they first came to us, the man in the relationship was goal-oriented but not growth-oriented. And so he was achievement-oriented but not self-improvement oriented. And that is very much where I was prior to my car accident at 26. I think I was still semi-growth oriented, but the goal was to get the goals. The goal wasn't necessarily personal development, self-improvement, personal growth. And the female in the relationship is extremely growth oriented, working on herself constantly. And when we first started coaching them, they were struggling with this growth gap. Kev, there's a rule.
Okay.
Kevin.
Tell me.
Kevin Palmieri.
Kevin Edward.
Kevin Edward.
Yes.
Yes. Kevin Edward.
Say the thing.
There's a rule called the 1 in 60 rule. Kevin's very afraid of planes, so he might know this because he researched a bunch about planes to try to mitigate his fear and anxiety on planes.
Okay.
So apparently there's a 1 in 60 rule. So if you are 1 degree off when a plane takes off, in 60 miles, you'll be a full mile off course. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
I just want to make it clear, I'm not afraid that the plane's going to land at the wrong place. I'm afraid the plane's not going to land at all. We land in a different airport, I'll find my way to where I need to be. I'm afraid of other stuff.
$4,000 Uber ride.
Whatever.
Okay. So the idea here is there's a honeymoon phase and everything's going well and you're pretty much just living the dream. We're falling in love, we're going out, we're kissing for the first time, making love for the first time, we're doing it. This is great, awesome. But you don't necessarily know yet their growth orientation. So picture a dial from 0 to 10, like a light dimmer. A level 10 growth orientation is someone who has a therapist and is masterminding constantly, listen to NLU every day, growth, books, do, awesome. And what we found, the male in this relationship at the time was smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol regularly, playing guitar. Huge fan of this person, by the way. Good dude. But just struggle bus. Entrepreneur struggling. She was very growth oriented, has a very level career, definitely growing financially, boom, boom, boom. So it was kind of, they started doing this sort of diverging happening. And the male was kind of freaking out. I don't know how to keep up with her, this, that, and the other thing. So my idea for this episode was everyone out there listening to Next Level you are obviously self-improvement oriented. Otherwise, you would definitely not like this podcast, since the sole purpose of this podcast is to improve yourself so you can improve your life. Do you have a partner who is as growth oriented? And if not, what can we or what do we do about that? Or maybe you're like me and you do self-improvement constantly, but your partner is even more growth oriented than you are. And Emilia definitely is. And I'd say it's pretty close, but I would definitely give it to her. So maybe she's a 10, maybe I'm a 9. And what is the gap? How large is the gap? Because if the gap is large, you might be diverging without knowing it, and then eventually that snaps.
So the thought is, goal is you are the type of person who you grow to a goal.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you become way more than you would have been if it was just...
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be the male in the relationship at this point, but he was struggling because he was a new entrepreneur. He left corporate, and he had a couple down years, and you know as well as I do.
Yeah, no.
A couple down years can really affect your self-belief and self-worth.
All the years in the beginning were down years. It was not great. It sucked badly. Okay, and then growth is somebody who just grows to grow.
Yeah.
They just like growing.
Yep. The goal for them is growth. After 26 for me, I kept my goal orientation, but the goal became growth first. So it's syntax. For you, Kev, it's goal first, growth second. For me, it's growth first, goal second.
Somebody asked me on a podcast the other day, they said, how do you stay so consistent when it comes to growth? Like, how did you learn to like growth? And I said, I don't like growth. I still would rather, I love this and I love podcasts, but I don't enjoy learning that much. I'd rather be listening to music. Of course I would. In what world wouldn't I rather be listening to some bumping music in the car?
Super important for you to be that, because I think that you'll be able to help people in a different way, because some people really are obsessed with growth, and it's not relatable to everybody.
Well, shout out to you. If you're obsessed with growth, shout out to you. Shout out. I do think you're probably the rarer.
Definitely.
Okay. Okay. What do you think has a higher probability of success? Which of those two?
External success?
Yeah. Goal achievement. External goal achievement. It's a tough
The goal-oriented person, probably. No. Short term, the goal-oriented person will always win.
That's
long term, the growth-oriented person will always win eventually. And that comes out of nowhere.
Well, because it's not about the goal. It's about
growth.
Like eventually you cross a threshold where you've just grown so much. Yeah, that makes sense.
When I was younger, in my early 20s, I was very goal-oriented. And I was very improvement-oriented toward those goals. But again, I wasn't self-improvement focused. So it wasn't personal growth, personal development. It wasn't as personal. It wasn't looking inward as much. If I had done inner work when I was younger, had a therapist younger, I mean, dude.
Yeah.
This is the way I would see it. Alan A is the one that I was, the goal-oriented first, growth second. And then I flipped the script at 26 to growth first, goal second. And I went broke, by the way, so be careful. But long term, the growth first would have surpassed the goal first person. However, for the first decade, it probably would have been Alan A, who looked like the victor.
Growth?
Yeah. Since 26, I can honestly say I focused on growth more than goal, which was detrimental at first until I got my goal orientation back up.
And that's why you say Alan and I always have a running joke. Not really. It's not a joke. It's a serious conversation, but not serious, that you'll be in better shape when you're older than me. Is that because you're growth focused and I'm goal focused?
Yeah. Bianca wouldn't mind me sharing this. She's a client of mine, and she used to squat more than me. And we used to go to the gym together. She works with Emilia. She's actually the one who introduced me to Emilia, so thank you forever, B. Holy crap. Best gift of my life. And when Emilia first saw my photo, she was like, not for me. He's probably a dingus.
Yeah, understandable.
I was very much fitness modeling at that time. But I remember B squatted more than me, and she used to make fun of me because we'd go to the gym together, and she's half my size, and she was squatting. And I remember thinking, yeah, but you're doing 1 rep maxes, and you're going to blow your shit out, potentially, and hurt yourself, and I'm playing a very long game. Like, my goal is to be in ridiculously good shape at 50, 60, 70, and 80. And her goal was to be in shape now. And she has since, and she wouldn't mind me sharing this, she's since been like, yeah, that was really dumb because she hurt her back. And now she's coming back and she's doing the therapy, physical therapy and all that kind of stuff. But she now sees like, oh, okay, yeah, that was very short-term focused. Powerlifting, unless you're doing it for a living, can be very dangerous if it's ego lifting.
Yeah, for sure. Been there, son. Been there. Anything more than 4 reps is cardio, though. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that.
So, I think anything less than 5 reps is reckless.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Unless
you're
5.
really, really good at, you have really, really good form.
Okay. I feel like I have
3. I do 3 sometimes. When I'm shooting for 5, sometimes I'll only get 3. But dude, as you get older, that gets dangerous.
Well, you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful.
Let's flip the script here for a sec. You still goal first, growth second. What would you give?
Forever. It's gonna be that. Forever.
So what would you give for advice to someone who used to play the short game? NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes.
I think it's important to have tiered goals. Like right now, I have like a very, very, very short, I'm talking this week goal.
What do we got?
It's with a potential client. It's
nice.
Do the right things to help this person so I can add more value so then we can continue to help them maybe at a deeper level. That's like, I have but like, okay, for fitness goals, I don't have a super long one. I don't have the one that you have. I haven't thought that far. Right now, I want to get down to 165 pounds, which is going to be terrible. But I need ones that lead up to that.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's the advice I would give myself now or in the beginning is have a 10-year goal. Awesome. Great.
Does a 10-year goal not motivate you? So when you think of you at 45,
it doesn't even seem
that doesn't
real. No, it doesn't
motivate you?
It's like, it seems like a fantasy world. Seems like it just seems like you think I could get this? You think I could get my dream car in 10 years?
For sure.
Doesn't even seem remotely feasible. Just emotionally. Logically, sure, but it doesn't matter.
What would the payment on that thing be? 7 G's a month or something?
It's a $225,000 car. So you figure 7 years. It'd be a lot.
Hold on.
225, 5-year payment.
I know what we're paying for your Beamer, so hold on.
Well, let's
do some numbers here.
Slightly more than that.
What's your Beamer worth retail?
50 something? 50?
All right, so let's do this. Let's do 225 divided by 50.
I'm not balling like that, people. I know you've heard I have a BMW. Trust me, it's not the
So the payment would be $3,500 a month, not including insurance and all that. Yeah, it's a lot.
So you're looking at maybe $4,000 a month for a car.
You could buy a house,
But just
very small one, depending on where you live.
I know. From a logical standpoint, it just doesn't. It doesn't seem.
10 years is a long time.
Well,
yeah, but I see you.
That's logical.
Yeah,
it's logical, right?
here's the interesting paradox, and we'll go back to the growth and goal orientation here. Here's the fucking problem. If you don't think that's possible, you won't do what's necessary to make it possible.
Well, I think that's why the short and midterm goals are so important. Is because it gives you belief and it gives you trajectory.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm telling you.
But how do you know what to do if you don't have that end goal?
I think you're slightly dissatisfied with the present, or you're slightly motivated for a change in the present, and that's what starts it. And then from there, you build momentum and you build awareness. I think that there's something to be said about when you get small goals, you can set more specific, bigger ones. Just not necessarily massive ones yet.
But those small ones need to hopefully build toward the big ones. It's such a paradox.
I know.
It is fascinating. And then if you want to look good in the present, high self-belief leads to high goals. High goals leads to the necessity for massive failure in the present. If you're avoiding failure in the present, you will not achieve high goals. But you will avoid failure in the present if you don't have the high future orientation. It's almost like we're set up. I feel like most of people are, and myself included in the past, but in a different way, set up for failure in a way. Dude, bringing this back to relationships real quick. If you and I took away our goals, we wouldn't even be recording this.
Right.
So, and again, this is going to sound so ignorant or arrogant or both. I don't understand why we would do this if we didn't have a goal. You know what I mean? Like, why do things at all if there's no goal attached to it?
There is a goal. It just might not be as clear, or it might be unconscious, or it might not be as constructive. Like, again, I work with a lot of podcasters. I don't think, and if you're out there and this is your goal and I don't know it, please forgive me. I'm out here jeffing. I don't know if there's I don't know if I've ever worked with a podcaster who has the same goal as us, to have the most successful anything in the industry. That's not what most people are playing for.
Like, if your goal is to build a TV, you have to go learn about TVs and study TVs and take apart all your TVs. And anytime you set a goal, whether it's conscious or not, you immediately have to change everything you do and don't do. Like, if we wanted to start a TV company, we would immediately shut this off and go do something different.
I wouldn't say anything and everything. I think you have to change. You have to start by changing something. Again, the massive action piece, I don't think it doesn't work that way for most people. I didn't change everything when I started a podcast. I changed one thing.
At a time, yeah, but you changed everything over a period of time.
Eventually.
Like, the way you used to live versus the way you live now.
But I started with one
night
thing.
And day. Yeah.
That's my thesis in this episode is, if you want to be, let's say we have a client who wants to be physically independent into his 90s. Okay, cool. Very specific.
Yeah.
Let's say he didn't have that goal, though. And he has been exercising for a long time. The goal is to do the next workout better than I did this workout. And then eventually, hopefully, if you do that for long enough, you end up in a better spot than you would have. It's almost like, would
you have that goal if it wasn't for... It's like you're trying to build a Lego castle. You're not even going to put the first Lego piece if you don't know what you're trying to build. You just start putting Legos together?
Yeah. You may never get the castle. You may never get the castle, but you hopefully will get more Lego pieces on top of one another. It just might not be... It's like the puzzle thing we were talking about before. Maybe you don't know exactly what the end of the puzzle looks like, but realistically, you don't really need to know what the end of the puzzle looks like to start it. You just start putting shit together and see what happens. Will you be able to complete it?
As long as you're humble enough to reassess.
Yeah, it's weird. This is a very... We sure as shit shouldn't have done a 20-minute episode on this one, because it's very, very... There's way more depth to it, for sure, but I think most people start... Again, I'll speak for myself. I don't want to say most people. I didn't start thinking, we're going to record the 2000th episode in a week and a half or whatever. Never thought that was going to happen. That has now become a It's just, that's a growth. It's a byproduct of growth.
What did you
Sorry,
think
it's a
was gonna
byproduct of
happen?
goals. I didn't think of it. I didn't think 8 years down the line. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought I was going to be doing mindset coaching for high-level athletes in the very beginning. That's what I thought I was going to be doing.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. But so you started the podcast knowing that eventually it would stop?
I started the podcast knowing I wanted it to start. Pretty much. That was it. I don't think it would be good for me to have too many expectations, because then I probably wouldn't have started. There's got to be like some level of an asset where it's like the optimal starting point for each person. If I thought this was going to start at 2,000 episodes or continue past 2,000 episodes, honestly, I don't think I ever would have started it. Because I could not in that moment believe I would ever get to the place where I could do 2,000 episodes. Oh. You know what I mean?
Me leaning into me, last piece. I'm the opposite. If I didn't think we'd get to 2,000, I wouldn't even have started.
I know. Well, that's why we work so well together.
Now, here's the thing I need to make clear. I think relationships is a good example of this. My past relationships that were long-term, at the time, I wasn't certain I was going to marry these people, but I wasn't certain I wasn't going to. The moment that I became certain they weren't going to be my wife, my person, the moment I became certain they weren't what was best was the moment I had to leave. I wasn't certain they would be my person, but I wasn't certain they wouldn't be.
Did you intend on them being?
Yes. I never would be in a long-term relationship if it wasn't what I had hoped. To me, I'm not certain that you and I will work out forever, but I'm betting on that. I would never have started if I was certain we wouldn't. I mean, that's just a way to fail.
Well, that makes sense. But I think that's why when somebody out there struggles with low self-belief, in their mind, why start? I think I'm going to fail. There you go.
Oh.
So I'm not going to fucking start. Why am I going to start a podcast? I'm not going to be able to do this forever.
Why not?
I mean, at the time, that's the way. Because I didn't know. I had a fixed mindset. I didn't know I could grow and evolve. Like there was just too many circumstances that I felt were beyond my control.
Self-belief is the most important thing. And next would be the humility to keep it in reality. Because I think some people with high self-belief end up delulu. And they end up, myself included, I've been very delusional in the past. And
it's so important, yeah.
Self-belief is number one, humility is number two. And then the third would be self-worth. But in terms of external achievement, goal one is self-belief, goal two is humility. And by the way, those usually don't come together.
I know.
It's very hard to sustain both of those because when you have more self-belief, it's harder to stay humble and rooted in reality because all of a sudden you start to have all these grander and grander visions.
Well, I don't think
sometimes
empathy
you
comes
untether.
with it either. I don't think empathy comes with self-belief because you don't understand that people don't think the way that you think. Not that you don't want to empathize. I think it's just hard to.
Yeah, and they pretend they have self-belief because they don't know that they don't, right? And we're all sort of inner world and outer world, so it's a whole thing.
We're going to have to do a part two.
I love it.
A lot of part twos. You never know where the episode's going to go when you start, but I think there's a lot of layers to this one. And even talking about, do you set a goal for the goal? Do you set a goal for the growth? Do you know how much growth it's going to take to get the goal? We're going to do a part two.
Let's do it.
All right.
I love it.
I love it as well. April 5th, 2025, Next Level Live 2025. Tickets are only $47 for a completely virtual full-day event. You can grow whilst in your pajamas. Alan and I will not be in our pajamas, unfortunately. Alan still has coaching slots available if you are looking to get to the next level behind the scenes, right? You listen to this podcast, you watch YouTube, whatever it is, there's another opportunity for you. First call is always free, as long as you haven't had one before. So we'll have the link in the show notes for a free 30-minute breakthrough session with Alan, if you're interested in that. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. At NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it next level. Next Level Nation.